Dallas, November 22, 1963. A day etched in history. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, while riding in an open-top limousine during a motorcade. As the car passed the Texas School Book Depository, shots rang out. Kennedy was struck twice, once in the neck and once in the head. He was pronounced dead shortly after at Parkland Memorial Hospital. Lee Harvey Oswald, a former U.S. Marine with ties to the Soviet Union, was arrested for the murder. However, just 2 days later, Oswald himself was shot and killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby while in police custody, leaving many questions unanswered. The official investigation, led by the Warren Commission, concluded that Oswald acted alone, but this explanation has been met with skepticism for decades. Numerous conspiracy theories have emerged, suggesting that Oswald was part of a larger plot. Some theories point to the CIA, angry over Kennedy's handling of the Bay of Pigs invasion and his desire to reduce Cold War tensions. Others implicate the Mafia, who may have sought revenge for Attorney General Robert Kennedy's crackdown on organized crime. There are even claims that Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, or elements within the military-industrial complex, orchestrated the assassination to escalate the Vietnam War. Despite countless investigations, the truth remains elusive, fueling endless speculation and debate. A single moment, a gunshot changed the course of a nation. But what if that moment never happened? What if John F. Kennedy had never been assassinated? What if the bullet missed, the plot failed, or the motorcade took a different route? In our timeline, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson, a landmark achievement in the fight for equality. But what if JFK had lived? Would this pivotal legislation have come to pass? Historians speculate that Kennedy's Civil Rights Bill was stalled in Congress at the time of his death. While JFK was committed to the cause, his re-election campaign loomed, and he feared backlash from Southern Democrats. Some believe he might have delayed the bill until after the election, hoping for more political leverage. But without Johnson's mastery of Congress and the Democratic majority that followed JFK's death, the Civil Rights Act might have been watered down, or worse, never passed at all. The 1960s could have been a decade of even greater unrest, with the fight for equality stretching far into the future. The Vietnam War claimed over 58,000 American lives and left a scar on the nation's soul. But what if JFK had lived? Would the war have escalated as it did under Johnson? Historians are divided. Some argue that Kennedy, a staunch anti-communist, would have continued the fight to prevent the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. Others point to evidence that Kennedy was already planning a phased withdrawal of troops before his death. He distrusted his military advisors and preferred diplomatic solutions, as seen during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Perhaps Kennedy would have avoided the full-scale war that Johnson waged, saving countless lives and preventing the deep social divisions that tore America apart. The Cold War was a time of icy tensions, but what if Kennedy had lived to thaw them? After the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy and Khrushchev began to seek common ground. In 1963, JFK proposed a joint US-Soviet lunar mission, saying,
"Why, therefore, should man's first flight to the moon be a matter of national competition?"
Had Kennedy survived, the Cold War might have de-escalated earlier, with nuclear arms reductions and improved relations with the Soviet Union. Perhaps the world would have seen an American and a Soviet astronaut walking on the moon together in 1969. And what of Cuba? JFK might have normalized relations with Castro, ending decades of alienation and opening a new chapter in US-Cuban diplomacy. Kennedy's vision for space exploration was bold and inspiring. He set the goal of landing a man on the moon by the end of the 1960s.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
A dream realized in 1969. But what if JFK had lived to see it? Some speculate that his survival could have led to even greater achievements, perhaps a joint US-Soviet mission to Mars by the 1980s. Kennedy's leadership might have accelerated the space race, pushing humanity further into the cosmos and uniting nations in the pursuit of discovery. John Kennedy's assassination was a moment that changed the course of history. It left a nation in mourning and a world wondering what might have been. These questions linger, reminding us that history is not just a series of events, but a web of choices, chances, and possibilities. As we reflect on the life and legacy of JFK, we are left to imagine the world that could have been, and to ask ourselves,